Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Sharon Oyella and today we are making a monster head. This is Frankenstein's monster head and this is actually supposed to be a whole pattern, but because of a time crunch I'm releasing this part first because this part is already finished and published on my blog. And yeah, you could use this pattern by itself without the body. You could use it as a keychain or a little door hanger. Great thing for Halloween. When the rest of the pattern is available, it will be popping up on your screen. It will also be in the description box below. But today let's just do the head part itself and we're going to have lots of fun. But before we get started, I do assume that most of you will have the basics of crochet before starting this pattern. This is not really a beginner friendly video, although I do walk you through some of the more difficult things that are out of the ordinary, like sewing in the forehead. I'll show you how to crochet the bobble nose, how to crochet the ears right onto the head. I'll show you how to add the eyes and the little details, and also how to finish the last row of the hair and make these little messy bits on top of his forehead. So that's what this video is for. It's going to walk you through things that are out of the ordinary, and all the basics you should know already. For the monster head, you're going to be using two different colors of worsted weight yarn. This is acrylic yarn. This is Red Heart Comfort. I use the green and the black, and I'll put the color codes in the pattern itself. To add little details, I also used a little bit of gray, some red, some white. I'm going to show you how to do the yarn eyes. You can also use an 8mm safety eye, but if you don't have safety eyes, then don't worry, we're going to do yarn eyes together. I used a 4mm hook, a blunt end yarn needle, pair of scissors, and a small amount of polyester stuffing. This is light and springy and it will not clump up when I'm sewing, so I'm going to try to find something similar. On the package it says ideal for toys and pillows. If you use the same materials that I've just showed you, then you should get a doll head about 2.5 inches tall. Alright guys, we're going to get started. In the next clip we're already finished row 12 and I'm going to show you how to add in safety eyes if you're using them. And you can see you don't need safety eyes. I do show you also how to add in the yarn eyes. Alright my friends, we are at the end of row 12 and the last stitch I just put in, just pull it out so I don't lose it. Nice big loop. And I always put it in the center of the back and then I work on this side of the head. So this will be the front of my face. So if I was going to be using safety eyes, I want to put them in between the 8th and 9th row. I know this one right here is the 6th row, so I'm going to count from there. 6, 7, 8, and 9. So in between the 8th and 9th row, and I want 5 visible stitch holes between them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you just attach the backs. Some safety eyes come with plastic backs, some come with metal backs. Whatever your package says how to install them, then you go ahead and do that. Make sure you're happy with the placement. Once you stick the backs on your safety eyes, you will not be able to pull them apart. If you have no safety eyes, I'm going to show you after the head's all stuffed and closed how to add yarn eyes. So don't worry about it if you don't have any safety eyes. We can still give them some eyes at the end. So let's finish row 13 and then we will stuff the head together. So you can go ahead and pause the video and then hit play again when you're ready to stuff the head. At the end of row 13 and we have 12 stitches around, and here we're going to stuff the head. We don't want to overstuff because we're going to be sticking some more in after we get the neck all done. We can stick more in if we need it. It is finished up and you can see I don't have much stuffed in there right now. I can put more in as is needed, but first of all I'm going to shove this neck part up into the head. I'm just going to put that yarn tail up there and I'll just push it inside. And you'll feel that it also helps stuff the head a little bit with that turned inside out like that. So now you can stick some more stuffing in there. And we're not stuffing into the neck hole itself, like we're not going to leave stuffing in there. We're going to just push it in. I like to push it in around the bottom of this area here. So behind that little neck part that we got shoved up in there, we'll just push some stuffing around that. You can feel it with your finger. So you can see the shape of the head. Now I am going to add a nose, and that nose is put in just underneath the 9th row. And again, we know this is the 6th row. If you've got your safety eyes, of course you're going to go in between those. 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm going to push my hook underneath there. Pull the yarn through. Chain 1. Now we're going to make a small bubble using 3 double crochet. Yarn over before going in. So yarn over, go underneath that 9th row, pull the yarn through. You have 3 loops on your hook. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops only. There we go. We have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to repeat this again until we have 4 loops on our hook. Yarn over. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops only. And now you have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to repeat it one more time. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops. And there's our 4 loops. Pull the yarn through all 4 loops. And there's our small bobble. Now we can finish off. Leave a little bit of a tail for sewing. Pull the yarn tail through that loop and pull tight. Now let's get rid of this starting yarn tail. We're just going to pull it through the head anywhere. Break free. Now let's sew this other one in place. Bobble should be in the shape of a bowl. So this is underneath the bobble here. I want to push from underneath, push it upwards to create that little bowl. Now we could pull the yarn through anywhere. You can come out the back of the head if you want to. And pull that bobble into place. And our nose is done. Now you can just knot off back here. Go through that loop and pull. Bring the yarn out anywhere else away from that area. Pull on it slightly and cut. So let's add those yarn eyes now. And the yarn eyes are going to get wrapped over the 8th row. And we want 5 visible stitch holes between them. So I'm going to bring the yarn through the top of the head and go underneath that 8th row. Pull the yarn through. 2 or 3 times, let's say. I think twice should do it. One more. And then I'll bring the yarn needle over here and pull it through. Don't pull too tight because you'll alter the shape. And there's my 5 visible stitch holes. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap over the 8th row. Once, twice, and 3 times. That looks good. Now I'm going to bring this down and make the mouth. And the mouth is made in between the 11th and 12th row. We know this is the 8th. 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So in between the 11th and 12th row. And you can do it any kind of mouth you want to make. I made my little bit of a dip up there. And see how that looks. I think that will work. Now I can knot off these yarn tails up here, and it doesn't matter because everything's black up there. So I've knotted it off. Now I'll just thread these both and carry them both through and away from that area, down into the head, and then just come up anywhere else where it's black, pull it through, and cut. Alright guys, we're going to sew in the forehead now, and you should be finished row 2 of the hair. Pull out your last stitch so you don't lose it, and just leave it hanging, and you can finish the hair after we get the forehead sewn in. So where you finished off, the longer yarn tail, we're going to sew that in first across the top, right underneath this row of hair here. You want to make sure it's centered. You can turn it upside down. So bring my first stitch in, into the head, and then right back up into the forehead. I'm not going above the hair, I'm going right inside the head. And then inside the head, and then right up into the forehead. So now we want to sew the bottom of the forehead in, so we're going to push this up and we're going to sew across. Don't worry about the sides just yet, we can worry about the sides after. Let's just get this bottom edge sewn in first. So I sewed across the bottom, and I have to come back over here and fix this little bit here, which I will do in a second. But I just want to get rid of this starting yarn until I totally forgot about that. So I can just reach in there with my hook and pull it through. And then I can cut it free. Now I want to sew these sides down a little bit neater here. And then I'm going to go over and fix that little spot over there. Okay, good enough. Now I'm going to bring this through to the other side and fix this little mess I made over here. There. Now I'll just knot off. Alright my friends, we are going to do the last row of the hair together, and in the next clip you're going to see that I insert a lighter color yarn and then show you how to do the first picot stitch up here. So I've jumped ahead a little bit in the next clip. But you'll just look at the written pattern. It will walk you through that part of the row. And I just wanted to show you how to do these picot stitches. These ones here are done with 3 chains in the picot, and back here I put 4. I used 4 chains. So you can see you can make them longer. And like the written pattern explains to you, you can play around with this part. Use a variety of stitches to get the look that you want. Keep in mind we put the ears over the 9th row. And now we can put the last row of the hair in. And the reason why I did it this way is so you can decide how messy you want the front of his hair, where you want these little points that you put in. And I didn't really actually, before I'm filming this, I hadn't written out the hair pattern for the last row. And I will be doing that after I finish filming here. But anyway, I'm going to use different colors so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm just going to insert it here. And now I want to put a little point of hair here. This little point. So I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I can slip stitch or single crochet into this bottom chain here. It doesn't matter, whichever one's easiest for you guys. I'll do a single crochet. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch over. Instead of yarning over, just pull the first loop through the second loop. You can see the little point of hair that made there. And now I can get my hook back in there. Single crochet, slip stitch. See, a little bit messy there. So I'm going to do another one of those picot stitches, and I'll use 3 chains. You can make it longer, use 4. 1, 2, 3. And single crochet into the bottom of that chain. I'll slip stitch into the next stitch. And slip stitch into the next stitch after that, and see how that looks. See, messy hair. And if that was black, that would look really cool. So you can pause the video and then meet me back here when you get to the end of the row, and I'll show you how to get some scars and stuff in there. There I go. I gave him a pretty messy hairdo, and I did write this down, so you will find it in the written pattern, of course. And before we sew it in place, we can add scars and staples. In the next clip, I'm going to show you how to add the staples and the stitches here. And in the next clip, I used a beige colored yarn, and then I changed my mind later and I used gray for the staples. So you choose whatever color you want to use. I decided to use gray after I had already put the beige in there. Now, which one do I want to start with? If you take a lighter colored yarn, and guys, feel free to play around with this. You can look at pictures of the real Frankenstein monster and see where all his scars are and stuff like that, and then you can follow it. I put a couple here. I'm going to go through the top of here, and I'm going to come out right about here. I'm going to put one on each end of his forehead. Yeah, I can do it that way. So I'll just wrap it. And remember, play around with this part. You don't have to do what I'm doing. So there's one staple. Now I will go through the forehead and come up on the other side. Remember to pull lightly. Just want snug enough to bring it into place. You don't want to alter the shape by pulling too tightly. And now I'll put one over here. Okay, I'm going to bring this up here. And I'm going to knot it off beside the other one, the other yarn tail. I can carry this through the head and cut it free, or I can just cut it up shorter here. Either way will work because, like I said, I'm going to hide it under there. So I'm not concerned about that. And I'm going to put a stitch across. I'm going to use red yarn. You can use any color you want. And the yarn's a little bit too thick for my liking, so I'm going to unravel it. And just use half of the weight of the yarn. And I'm going to go through top of the forehead. And where do I want that scar to go? Probably right here. I'll bring it through, wrap it over, and then when I come up again, I'm going to come up just a little ways up from that first line and do a stitch across, just like real stitches. And now I can bring it across there. And I can bring it up right where I want to put the next stitch across. So yeah, it's good. Now I can knot these two off here. The same thing, the knot will be hidden underneath the hair. The scar is in place, and now I'm just adding a little bit of white to the eye. The same thing, going from the top. You can do anything you want with this part as well. You can wrap it on different sides of the eye. It changes the look. I'm just going to do the bottom, but you can wrap it any direction you want to. And if you pull it too tight, just reach in there and pull it back out again. Okay guys, and these are just what I've done. You can switch this up. You can put scars anywhere you want to. You can put the staples anywhere you want to. I added two more here. Once you're all done, then sew your hair in. And you want to do this part just snug enough to pull the little bits of hair in place, but not so tight that you alter the shape. So I'm just going to go around and put a couple stitches here and there. So I'm just going to go around and add a few stitches here and there. So I just went around and I did all the points and sewed those down into place. You can see how nice and messy his hair looks. And that was the look I was going for. Okay, so once you're done, again, just knot off anywhere where it's black, and then bring it through the head and cut it free. So let's add the ears, and we're going to crochet them right onto the head. And again, I'm going to insert my hook underneath the 9th row. So I know this is the 8th. I'm going to go underneath the 9th, right about there. And pull the yarn through. chain 1, and now I'm going to put 2 half double crochets and yarn over, go underneath that 9th row, pull the yarn through. You have 3 loops, pull the yarn through all 3 loops, and I'll do that one more time, underneath the 9th row. Now you can finish off, leave a little bit of a tail for sewing. Let's get rid of the starting yarn tail first. Pull it through. Okay, all we have to do to shape it is just bring the yarn needle down through the side and just bring it out anywhere. And pull that ear into shape. And that's it. Now you can just knot off. And then carry the yarn tail away and cut it free. So the first one is done. The next one, let's not turn the doll upside down, we'll work this way. And going underneath that 9th row, just make sure that you have an even space between the eyes and the ear. And that looks about right. So let's pull the yarn through. Chain 1, and then put 2 half double crochets going underneath that 9th row. Get rid of that starting yarn tail. And now we'll shape the other ear. So this one you'll just have to shape it a little bit with your fingers. If it's all bunched up, just pull it out with your fingers. Get it unbunched up so it matches the other ear. I think that looks good, so now I'll just knot off and carry the yarn tail away. Alright my friends, like I said at the beginning of this video, the next part will be posted as soon as it is available, and the video, when it's available, will be popping up on your screen. Until then, I hope you enjoyed making your little monster head, and I'd sure love to see pictures of it. Post pictures on my Facebook page, Amigurumi Freely, or also follow me on Instagram, Sharon Oyella. The link will be in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you super soon.